a song or a hymn, yet is not the ordinary lyrical song. It is a conversation between a spiritual master, a preceptor, a guru, and an earnest seeker or a sishya. So Gita, according to scriptures, means it is a conversation or a dialogue between a preceptor or a guru and a sishya. There are many Gitas in Hinduism. To my knowledge, there are more than 60 Gitas other than the famous Bhagavad Gita. The source of all these Gitas are from the epics or from the puranas. The greatest epic, Mahabharata, has many Gitas. Mahabharata has 18 parvas or 18 books or 18 chapters. And the biggest book is among all these 18 parvas or the 18 books is the Shanti Parva. Shanti Parva has 3 subsections. That is the Raja Dharma Parva, Abhat Dharma Parva and Moksha Dharma Parva. The background of the Shanti Parva is, after the great Mahabharata war was over, King Yudhishthira was in a dejected state of mind. He was much worried because all his relatives, friends and well-wishers had lost their life. So what's the use of ruling this kingdom after losing everyone? Nobody could console him. After the coronation ceremony was over, the 5 Pandava brothers went to meet Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna took these 5 Pandava brothers to Bhishmacharya, who was lying on the bed of arrows on the Kurukshetra field, on the war field. So Lord Krishna took his pain, and Bhishmacharya was in a state of peace of mind. So on the instruction of Lord Krishna, King Yudhishthira asked many questions to Bhishmacharya. And the answers for all those questions were so profound, and each of that answers are now said as Gita, or they are traditionally said as Gita. Many of the answers were a conversation between a rishi and a king, or a conversation between 2 kings, like that. So each of the answers given by Bhishmacharya became a Gita. They were traditionally called as Gita. So that's the background of Shanti Parva. And Shanti Parva in Mahabharata has many Gitas. Majority of the Gitas from the Mahabharata comes from Shanti Parva. The follow-up section of Shanti Parva is the Anusashana Parva, from which the famous Vishnu Sahasranama comes from that Parva. Shanti Parva is the 12th Parva. And the next important Parva from which majority of the Gitas comes from is the Vana Parva or the Aranya Parva. It was during that period of exile of the 5 Pandava brothers, many sages met them. And Yudhishthira, he asked many questions about life, dharma, Raja Dharma to those rishis. And each one of the rishis, they gave a very profound answer to all his questions. And they were traditionally called as Gita. So in Mahabharata, majority of the Gitas comes from these 2 parvas. That is the Vana Parva and Shanti Parva. Majority of the Gitas come from these 2 parvas in Mahabharata. Apart from this, there are many Gitas from Srimad Bhagavatam and also from other Puranas. So in this video, let me share with you some of the Gitas from Mahabharata. The famous among all the Gitas, the 60 of them, is of course Bhagavad Gita, which comes from the Bhishma Parva of Mahabharata. It has 700 verses, and it's a conversation or a dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjuna on the war field of Kurukshetra. So that's the famous Gita. Everyone knows about it. The next is the Anugita. After the Mahabharata war was over, Arjuna, he forgot that Gita. And so he approached Lord Krishna to repeat the Gita once again. For that, Lord Krishna said, what is said in a particular time, in a particular situation, cannot be repeated. So he gave the essence of Bhagavad Gita, and that is called the Anugita. The next is the Uttara Gita. It is complete full of questions. After ruling the kingdom for many years, Arjuna, he lost interest in the worldly life, in the material life. So again he approached Lord Krishna in his old age and requested Lord Krishna to tell about Brahma Vidya. And Lord Krishna explained Brahma Vidya through yogic practices. Uttara Gita is full of, there are many yogic practices in Uttara Gita based on Brahma Vidya. So that is the Uttara Gita. These three Gitas, that is the Bhagavad Gita, Anugita and Uttara Gita, they three are known as the Krishna Gitas because they were said by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. The next is the Ashtavakra Gita. This comes in the Vana Parva of Mahabharata. It's originally a dialogue between King Janaka and his spiritual preceptor, sage Ashtavakra. It's a very important work in Vedanta philosophy. It's about Brahma Vidya. This Gita, sage Lomesh, he recites or he refers this Gita to King Yudhishthira when King Yudhishthira was in, that is the Pandavas, when they were in the Vana, that is the forest. Yudhishthira asks about the Vedanta philosophy, about the Brahma Vidya. For that, sage Lomesh explains this Gita. And the next is the Bhagavad Gita. It is a conversation between Bhaga and Lord Indra. It also comes in Mahabharata. The next is the Bhishma Gita. It's a set of 3 hymns recited by or chanted by Bhishma Acharya in praise of Lord Maheshwara, Lord Mahavishnu and Lord Narayana. It's a set of 3 hymns. The next is the Bhautya Gita. It's a conversation between sage Bhautya and King Yayati. It comes in the Shanti Parva of Mahabharata. That is in the Moksha Dharma Parva, subsection Moksha Dharma Parva. It is about Brahma Vidya, about renunciation and Dharma, everything. The next is the Brahmana Gita. It's a conversation between a learned Brahmana and his wife about Maya, its bondage and how they escape from that Maya. It comes in the Ashwamedha Parva of Mahabharata. And the next is the Haritha Gita. It's about Sannyasa Dharma. This also comes in the Shanti Parva, Moksha Dharma Parva of Mahabharata, to a question by King Yudhishthira to Bhishmacharya. Bhishmacharya refers to this Gita or recites this Gita. It is that sage Haritha, he explains about Sannyasa Dharma. So that is Haritha Gita. And the next is the Kama Gita. It's a very short Gita with only 5 verses. This also comes in the Ashwamedha Parva of Mahabharata. And this Gita, it explains about the importance of suppression of desire and how to overcome the desires without being affected by the desires. To a question by Yudhishthira to Lord Krishna explains this Kama Gita. The next is the Manki Gita. It's the life history of sage Manki, how he overcame his desires and how he attained enlightenment. This also comes in the Shanti Parva, Moksha Dharma Parva, subsection Moksha Dharma Parva of Mahabharata, to a question by King Yudhishthira to Bhishmacharya. Bhishmacharya refers to this Gita. The next is the Nahusha Gita. It is the conversation between Nahusha, a serpent, and King Yudhishthira. The next is the Parasara Gita. It's a dialogue between Parasara, who is the father of sage Vedavyasa, and King Janaka of Mithila. It comes in the Shanti Parva of Mahabharata, on the Moksha Dharma Parva, that is the subsection, to one of a question to Bhishmacharya by King Yudhishthira on the good values and good acts, righteous acts, dharma. Bhishmacharya refers to this Gita, that is the Parasara Gita. So these are some of the important Gitas from the Mahabharata. And the famous Bhagavad Gita is also known as Hari Gita. The divine sage Narada calls Bhagavad Gita as Hari Gita. So now I have time only for this much. So these are some of the Gitas from Mahabharata. In my next video, let me share with you the gist of other Gitas also. So for now, thank you for watching.